Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the UNA open session Board of Directors meeting. It's 5:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order, recognizing that we meet on the traditional unceded territory of the Musqueam people. We thank them for that and are conscious of that. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. And so I'm going to move that the board approve the July 16th, 2024 open session agenda as circulated. The secondary, Murray, can you hear me, Chris? Yep. Good. Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Just a note to everybody that Eagle has given his regrets, but everyone else is here. So welcome, everyone. All right, now I'll move that the board approve the June 18th, 2024 open session minutes as circulated. Do we have a seconder? Somebody want to second me? Phil, discussion? Murray.
I just wanted, I noted my absence at the meeting. I did send my regrets, and so I wondered whether it should reflect regrets from me.
I don't think that's standard procedure. You're either there or there. Or,
yeah. You don't normally note down folks' regrets unless we want them particularly.
I do mention it at the meeting, but it's not recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Great. Okay, our first order of business is the RCMP quarterly report. So I'll invite Chuck, Staff Sergeant Chuck Land, the RCMP Detachment Commander. Welcome, Chuck.
Do I need to turn something on here for you guys, or can I just?
Is it on?
Hear me? Oh no.
As long as folks can hear you.
Okay, perfect. We had a busy first half of the year. So far, we're at about 33 calls for service. And last year at this time, it was about 1,943. So it's been a bit of an increase, and part of that could be just we're certainly capturing more of the work that we're doing, and also it's just been an increase with people coming to the area as well. So population growth. So that's probably no surprise that that's increased, and we're seeing a steady increase year after year. Some of the serious files that we've been involved in back in March, we had a homicide investigation that occurred in the Laylam subdivision. A male was charged with second-degree murder for the death of his spouse, and the IHIT, the Integrated Homicide Investigative Team, is continuing with the investigation. Last month, we had a stranger attack on a female around the CISO Green area. One of the employees walking home from work was grabbed from behind. Fortunately, she managed to get away from the assailant and was not harmed, other than really the psychological trauma that she went through. It's certainly a scary moment for her. And we've been getting some sexual assault, groping investigations on the Wreck Beach trails, and also down Wreck Beach, some indecent acts that's been recorded. Certainly, that's not uncommon when beach season starts up, around early part of May, and it just continues till the end of September, where the weather starts to get a little cooler. Last month, again, we had an armed robbery attempt at the Rose Garden Parkade. The victim was a graduate from BCIT. He was going to his convocation at the Chance Center. He was in the parkade near his car. Someone grabbed him from behind, attempted to grab the large amount of cash that was in his coat pocket. The assailant had a 10-inch kitchen knife with him, Announced to the victim struggle ensued and fought off the suspect. Suspect fled, dropped the knife, and didn't get any cash. Fortunately, the victim suffered a cut on his wrist, took 5 stitches to close, and also superficial cuts to his stomach. He was very fortunate. Could have been a lot worse. It's a real scary situation for him as well. He's going to his graduation, and that's what he encountered. So, fortunately, these are things that we're seeing more these days. Hard to explain why. It's just the growth of the area, right? And the attraction of people. It's a fantastic place to be, right? Fortunately, sometimes you attract the wrong type of people. And that's also the pro-Palestinian encampment that was at UBC McInnes Field. I'm sure a lot of you may have heard about it. It started on the 29th of April, and the protesters had stolen construction fencing, pallets, picnic tables, chairs, and tables within UBC and the neighboring businesses, fortified the field around the soccer field. At times, there were anywhere from 100 to 400 protesters between 12 noon and 10 o'clock at night in this encampment for the first 3 or 4 weeks. During that period, we saw a lot of pop-up protests. And some of the places were the bookstore, where they took over the bookstore. Protests outside, 20 were inside, took over the bookstore. Kerner's Library, 150 people took over the president's office, making some demands. At the Alumni Center, they were in the lobby there and took over the center there for a few hours, forced closure of Los Cafe, and also the AMS building where the NDP party had a training session, a convention, so to speak, and disrupted there, along with the closure of Westbrook Mall and University Boulevard. We took over the intersection for a few hours before we were able to really muster up a large contingent of resources to move these protesters. Out of all of these pop-ups, we had two protesters arrested, and also the resources that were required to monitor the whole encampment. Our TAC troop were here assisting us, along with the critical response unit, the Provincial Critical Response Unit. And they had a number of members here each day supporting us. We just, with the small numbers of members we had here, we weren't able to monitor and respond safely to anything that we could. Not to mention, we saw also counter protests from pro-Israeli supporters as well. So, after 70 days of this encampment, the protesters left voluntarily. We don't know why. There's never been any communication from them. We had our provincial liaison team try to make contact with them. They were really hostile and didn't want anything to do with any kind of talks with police or any really anybody else. So that's kind of unusual, because these provincial liaison teams have always had good dialogue with protesters, whether it be Fairy Creek, Trans Mountain or any other high-profile protest groups that they've always had a representative at least make some dialogue with police. So for now, they are gone, and we continue to monitor, and hopefully we don't get a return. I know there's been substantial damage that the university is assessing with the field, and there's still assessments going on to determine whether a new turf needs to be replaced. Lighter note, some of our community engagement that we've been involved in. We attended one of the apartment buildings at the Hampton and provided a talk to strata and residents there on protecting themselves against scams and frauds. So that was well received. And also on July 1st, myself and a member in Red Church attended celebration days here. We're out and about giving out stickers and tattoos to kids. And that's all I've got for now.
Thanks very much, Chuck. I guess I'll open the floor for questions and comments and discussion. Murray?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for coming to present to us and for the work that you and your team do. We appreciate it. I wanted to ask about, at the outset, you gave a statistic. I think you said 3,300 incidents compared to 1,900 in the first half. And I wanted to ask whether you have, you're in communication or have any information about the potential for increased resourcing to the police out here, given the very obvious and ongoing population growth, and just highlighting the plans as per Campus Vision 2050 to continue to expand the population here to north of 30,000. What confidence do you have that the police resourcing will be increased commensurate with that growth?
No, unfortunately, it's. I believe it's really up to the provincial government. This whole area is provincially funded for policing. I reported a couple of years ago that the provincial government had identified $230+ million towards provincial police, and then I was kind of hopeful and that we'd see some of that come our way for the detachment year, and to date there hasn't been any further updates on approval for any kind of resourcing here. So it's kind of disappointing, really. It is a need that we do need here for increased members, and it's recognized by our senior management at headquarters. They know our position here, our situation, and they've been really trying to work with the provincial government to say we need extra resources here. And it's been a constant battle. The UEL a few years back have written numerous letters of concern and support from our members there to Minister Farnsworth. Here had probably expressed your concern in that regards to the province as well. So as far as an increase, I haven't heard any. Right now, we're just trying to keep afloat with what we have, and really trying to get some approved extra members just to stabilize those that are leaving, because there's always a constant turnover at the detachment here. You have members that come here for 4 or 5 years and then they move on, they transfer to elsewhere. And that transition period takes a few months to actually bring in new members in here. So, you know, not really with the 2 extra members, it's kind of being approved by our headquarters and not funded by the province. We're not really getting ahead. We're just trying to stay afloat with people leaving. So hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Chuck. Are there other questions? No, I just want to, again, thank you very much. We really appreciate the presence of the RCMP, and it's good to hear the reports. It's sad that there seems to be an increase of criminal activity, and I'm particularly shocked by the Chan Center parking lot incident, which, yeah, in the past 5 years hadn't heard of. It's almost like a public mugging, and I haven't heard that before. But yeah, Bill.
Chuck, one thing you didn't mention, I thought you might, is that there was a wonderful article in the Globe and Mail, a very extensive article on the training that RCMP members get. A 3-page article that I recommend to anyone who's interested.
I'll look for it.
It is a good article.
The weekend.
Yeah, it's on the
issue.
weekend, Saturday.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, well, thank you very much, Jack.
Oh, and just, sorry, Murray, I know you mentioned about the 2050 vision. That's one thing that I had worked with Chris a couple years ago with, you know, kind of planning for that. And, you know, really I expressed him that, you know, if the universities get to that stage, there's got to have to be planning with obviously increase in policing resources, which is quite aware and thank you, everyone.
Very good. Yep, thanks. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the campus and community planning report. Carol.
Thanks, Richard. Hi, everyone. The report is before you, and I'm happy to answer any questions or take them back to the team if anyone has any questions for me.
We got questions for Carol? Bill.
Usual question, Carol. Has UBC heard anything? I probably it has, but you can't say, but I'll ask anyway.
No, Bill, there's no update on timing, still under review. Bill's asking about the status of the provincial adoption of the land use plan.
The land use plan, yep. Thanks very much. Okay, any other questions for Carol? No, again, thanks. Great information to have for the summer. Hopefully it'll be a quiet summer and then, yeah, gearing up for the fall. Very good. Okay, well, we'll welcome Jen McCutcheon, Electoral Area A Director. Come and
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. I don't have a written report this month. I didn't feel like there was enough content for one, but I'm happy to be here. I'm sorry. I do have a standing meeting coaching that it's at the same time, so my apologies. I haven't been here the last 2 months, but happy to take any questions on, you know, Metro Vancouver's been in the media a little bit. I'm happy to take any questions.
okay, Jen, thanks. We got questions or? I just want to have one thank you in your last newsletter that you gave a plug to the UNA directors recruitment, and I really appreciate that that you included that in your letter. So it's great, and all the other information is good as well. But yeah. Murray.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. I wondered if there were any UEL issues that have come up or are of relevance to our community here that you might want to flag. I don't have any. I don't have any awareness of any. But is there anything beyond the borders of the UNA that might impact us, or we should be aware of?
Sure. Thank you, Murray. I mean, there's two. The Laleham development is in the process of applying for further height and density, and that has the minister has said to move ahead with that, and so now it's in the bylaw revision stage for that. So that is something that is top of mind for residents in the UEL. The other piece that is has come up for UEL residents, I don't think so much for UBC residents, but the business case for the UBCX project is being developed. So that's just it's not the UBCX project, it's the business case around that. And some of the questions that are asked within that are around the alignment, whether things are, where the stations be, whether it's above ground or below ground. And so in parts of the UEL, especially Area C, which is the part closer to the golf course and to Blanca, there's like drilling being done right now to figure out what the bedrock looks like to help answer questions around whether something can be above ground or below ground. The province is totally in charge of that business case. So although I sit on the Mayor's Council, I have no other information on that. I'm trying to get some more because UEL residents have questions. But if you're in that area, you would see some of the drilling that is around just answering questions on the business case.
Bill.
Jen, is there any update on the, I forget what it was called, Services and Governance Study for the UEL, or has that gone dead?
That's a great question, Bill. I haven't heard any, I hear it is not dead, but with the election imminent, I don't think anything's going to happen before that, but I have been assured that after the election, it will move ahead. Now, I don't know what that means. I'm not sure, if that's moving ahead with changes or that's moving ahead with coming up with answers. As you well know, that all the services out here are so intertwined that there's a lot of things that would need to be they would need to be figured out around the implications, not just for UEL, but for UBC and UNA as well, around policing being one of them, for example. So I'm assured that it's not dead, but I haven't heard.
Go ahead there, Bill.
Yeah, and just one other thing I'd like, we haven't heard anything about for quite a while, and probably there's nothing you can say, but road pricing, there was a big study done, lots of things happened, and then it went quiet as well. I assume that it's just politically unpalatable and it's just going nowhere. Is that correct?
Unfortunately,
Sorry, could you just explain the concept road pricing? What you're talking about?
Charging by kilometer for driving on the roads in the Lower Mainland.
Tolls.
Well,
kind
not
of
tolls,
like that.
but actual charge by distance. And,
Yeah.
There
Like
was
zones
an extensive
yeah.
study. Somebody was brought over, I think, from Scotland to head the study, and everybody was all keen on it. And then after the study came out, there was nothing.
So, and if people around, other mayors around the Mayor's Council table have zero interest, some louder folks have zero interest in that. Now, TransLink is facing one that could, as well as being a great way to decrease congestion and get more cars off the road, it could also be a source of income for TransLink, which is in desperate needs of a new funding source because of the decrease in the fuel tax, which in some ways the fuel tax is a little bit of a pricing mechanism, right? So it sort of exists, but that's going away as more and more cars are electrified and not using gas. But so we are working with the province to try to come up with other funding mechanisms to, frankly, to keep TransLink afloat. But unfortunately, that's not one that's on the table.
Okay, well, thanks very much. Are there any other questions? No? Okay, well, thanks very much, Jen. It's great to see you. Thank you for making time to join us tonight. Yeah. Okay, our next item is the audited financial statement. So Athena, do you want to introduce our guests and welcome them?
Yeah, so the fiscal 2023-24 financial audit is being conducted by Johnson Matthey. So we have the partner, Leroy, and then Todd here to present the financial statement. So I will give the platform for them to present their audit finding.
So just thank you. I just wanted to note, I won't bore you with, so don't worry with all the nitty-gritty details of the reports. I just wanted to talk a little bit about a little high level. And I believe, unless it's changed, your financial statement should start on page 16 of your board package. And then there is an audit report to the board. It's on page 31. But I'll start at page 18 should be the auditor's report. Again, I won't bore you with all the details. We've already reviewed this with the audit and finance. So they've already been through this, and with Athena and her team, of course. So I just wanted to point out, so we're happy to report, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the position of the association. Just on the auditor's report, wanted to little highlights on what we're actually doing as auditors. So the statements are actually management's responsibility, and by extension the board's. And so those charged in governance, so board, you are actually responsible for the financial reporting. So, that's kind of an underlying thing. Our objective is to obtain assurance that the statements are free from material misstatement, whether that's due from fraud or from errors. The assurance on an audit is quite a high level of assurance, but with a fraud guarantee. We audit in accordance with the Canadian General Accepted Auditing Standards, the handbook that we are tied to, and so we identify and assess risk areas in the statements. We get an understanding of your internal controls within the association. And we evaluate the appropriateness of your accounting policies, all to conclude the appropriateness of management. And then we conclude the appropriateness of management's use as a going concern, which is generally not an issue. That's more of in the business world, whether you'll be here tomorrow. So I'm pretty sure you'll be here tomorrow, by extension. And so we have, and then we elevate the overall presentation and structure of the policies used in the financial statements. And then lastly, we're required to, by the Societies Act, to just report that, in our opinion, the accounting policies applied are appropriate. So flipping over the next page, you'll actually have your statement of financial position. And like I said, we've already been through with your finance team, so I'm not going to want to run through it in great detail, but maybe just as a general comment on the statement of financial position, you'll see 3 different lines in your liabilities as deferred, and then just from an accounting standpoint, that's money already received but being used tomorrow. So that's just so you kind of have an understanding of what maybe some of those balances might. And I just thought, maybe I'll just pause, and if there was any questions on the financial statements that I might be able to offer. Like I said, I won't go into great details line by line on the items you've added in your report, unless you wanted me to go in more detail. I'll just open for questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Just a question for clarity in terms of the, maybe it's reviewing what's already known, but it's worth stating, I think. The board's responsibility in terms of ensuring the audit gets done on an annual basis. You've been tasked with that job, but for a standard, I guess a standard procedure is to do this on an annual basis. So just maybe Paul could help me with that, or Athena. Why do we do this every year?
Yes, I think it's in the, as the society, we actually require, that's one of the requirements, that our book has to be audited.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
I believe it's in our bylaws.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. So, thank you. I just thought it was an important thing. Great. Any other questions? And then we can continue on.
But yeah, and then it'll be in the bylaws because the Society Act.
Right.
Actually required as well. So on page 31, there's our report to the board of directors. This whole process, you're responsible for that. So we issued this report, and I'm going to skip through to so 33. You'll see the overall overview of our audit. Those are the matters that were reflected in the audit report itself. But I did want to just comment on a couple of things on page 37. Assuming that it's not changed, the significant audit and accounting and financial matters. And there's just a couple of risks that we identify when we do an audit. And one is the self-review, the threat. So if we're making adjustments, we're kind of auditing our own work, which is appropriate. Any adjustments that are required we're asked to do by Athena and her team. So in a not-for-profit organization, you always have the risk of statement of expenses. That's a risk, but nothing noted during our work. The internal controls we take a look at and are strong. We are always aware for taking a look at fraud, errors and illegal acts. And the last thing that I just wanted to point out is for an audit, we need to be independent of the UNA, as both myself and the firm, and yes, we are. Like I said, I won't bore you with the detailed reports. I'm sure if you have reading summer night, unless there was any other questions.
Okay, thank you. Phil?
Thanks, Sarah. One question that I didn't ask in the committee, when you're auditing expenditures, are you looking to see that are you just looking for invoices that match what's in the accounting records, or are you actually looking to see if the expenses are valid expenses, or is anything questionable about them?
So one of the things we're using are professional judgment when we're looking at the expenses that are being reported. So we're not specifically looking for the expenses that wouldn't be there, but we're always looking at when we're looking at pick some from invoices and go to the GL and find it, some from the GL and go back to invoices. And part of that work is to make sure that those expenses would be within what we would expect in those various line items you see in your statements.
Thank you. I have a question. I guess the threshold for a red flag, if there's so you look at what's reported and what you're matching. Let's say the expenses reported were, I don't know, $10 off of the over $1 million. That's obviously not a significant amount, but there would be an item, if it was greater than a certain amount, there would be a threshold for a flag. Can you tell me, just talk about what that?
Do you know what our material?
Yeah, 27,000.
27,000. 27,000. So our materiality on this, she came all the way out here to help me out with that. Yeah, but so our materiality is 27,000 based on the statements. So any as we're going through our work, that's a basis for the amount. So if you're so we use 10%. So in our testing and stuff, if any of the results come greater than 2,700, we would deeper dive into that to get more comfort with any of those numbers. If you were out by $250, the threshold is in any 2,700. Cumulatively, if the errors are greater than 27,000, then we would consider making an adjustment to the statements or having that discussion with the team. Yeah, we don't have, one of the things that we would do, and you would see in the audit report, would be if we found any adjustments that we did it. here's what we think is an error and we should adjust. But didn't actually make the adjustment. We would unrecorded journal entry. You don't have any unrecorded journal entries. So I'm pretty comfort that Athena and her team is doing excuse me, an excellent job.
Do you need a glass of water?
No,
You're okay. Okay, great. Yep, thanks. Please continue. Or is that it?
I didn't have anything else from my side.
Okay, wonderful. Great. Are there other questions for Leroy or Prav?
Can I add a few things?
Sure.
Yeah, so normally, I think in general accounting practice, the materiality is normally not shared. So when they were doing their test, normally they won't let us know how much. So because there is a specific reason for that, like because they do a precise calculation of what is the materiality. So it's not a grab in the air number. So they have a precise way to calculate that. And then also because we don't know. So I think if by any chance that, there's some fortune in there, so you can't really manipulate anything because you just don't know. It could be lower, it could be higher, it could be whatever, right? So I think that's one. And then to just add to the comment, I think, yeah, I want to say Pastor Richard asked is like, basically when the, I think for the expenses, there is another way it's important for you to notice is like, it's not just that it matching to the GL, they also will check the authorization. They want to make sure that, like there's certain, because the different tests that they perform, so one of the tests is important is like, who actually look at these invoices, who actually approve, like I think allow this cost to go through. So I think that's important thing for you to know because, I mean, so I don't call the shot. So there is actually a proper way the auditor do look for, yeah. So I think because I work closely with Par, so might be, I think in the higher level, Leroy is at the very top, so maybe he doesn't know all those details, but I think just, yeah, Par can add to it. Yeah. So just to let you know.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I really appreciate those descriptions, that information. Okay, well, I think we're all up for a motion, and I'm wondering, Bill, if you'd like to make that as the chair of the finance.
Yeah, before I make the motion, I would just like to commend Athena and her staff for the great work they've done again this year. There was a rarity. There was one adjustment that had to be made, but that was because of just whether or not to record certain interest or directly as revenue or not. And so it was just a question of interpretation. So again, a tremendous job that they have done in putting together the financial statements. Thank you. So I move that the board approve the UNA's audited financial statements for the year ended March 31, 2024, and that the chair be authorized to sign the audited financial statements on behalf of the board to confirm that approval has been given.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Ben, do you want to do that, or you're part of the finance committee?
No,
She's not anymore.
Eagle is.
Sorry.
Eagle
Sorry.
is.
Yeah, Eagle's. So Murray, thank you. Great. Discussion. All in favor? The motion passes unanimously. That's great. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Leroy and Prav.
Thank you for having us. And I also just wanted to thank Athena and her team for the assistance that they've given us this year. Their job very easy. So privileged to have her. She's a blessing.
That's great.
We'll see you in the AGM.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the July management report, and we can begin with Paul.
Thank you very much. As per usual, the management report is outlined for you. My section on my activities as Chief Administrative Officer are not particularly highlightable. There's a couple of things that actually aren't on the list that I did want to just mention to the board because there were issues that were raised at the last board meeting. One of them was a question from a board member about my reach out to stratas in the neighborhoods. So it'll show up in next month's report, but that work has gotten underway, and I have reached out to all the stratas, all 56 of them, to start a process of engaging with them. And then in addition to that, working with the Properties Trust, I've also started a process of doing the same kind of reach out to the business community in the Westbrook Village to build some additional relationships along the same lines as the Stratas, but with the business community here. So those are two things, but you'll hear probably more about them in September.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. Do we have questions for Paul? Okay, great. Let's move on to the next part, which I believe is communications. So Glenda.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Couple of updates on my report. Just wanted to share that the UNA online UNA guidebook received its 400th visitor last Friday, as of last Friday. So people are interested in it, so that's great. Another thing to update on my report is that just received word that Emmanuel has had to extend his leave. He was scheduled to return on the 22nd, but it will be, now that his return is going to be on the 29th. Just really want to highlight and thank members of the newspaper editorial committee. They've kind of stepped in and helped provide coverage while Emmanuel is away, so that we're not going to miss our issue on August 1st, particularly Warren Karagata and Robin Starkey. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Glenda. We've got questions for her or comments. Not hearing any. Thank you very much. I'd just like to thank you for reporting on the number of hits for the guidebook. That's great. I was one of those hits, and I looked at it, and yeah, I thought it was good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Our next item would be recreation. And
yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Gillis isn't able to attend this evening. The update is as typical that the board sees on a monthly basis. I think there's probably two things that I would highlight, which is the two significant events for June. One was the Spring Fair, held on June the 15th, very well attended with over 300 people attending that, quite successful and a big hit for the community. And of course, Canada Day, July 1st, again, significant turnout, 600 approximately folks attending that. We ran out of cake again, although we doubled the number of pieces of cake from last year. So, and there was quite a bit of debate about the size of the cake, I'll tell you, leading into it. And there were some who had the opinion that the cake was going to be oversized this year, but clearly it was not. It was well enjoyed. But again, very well attended event and very successful. If you have any questions, I'd be pleased to field them. May not be able to answer them necessarily, but certainly follow up.
Thanks, Paul. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Murray.
What size of cake are you planning for next year?
Clearly 300 pieces isn't enough. So I don't know if we'll double it again for next year. That might be, but I don't know, we'll have a healthy debate during the budget time and determine what size of cake.
For 600, wow.
Okay, thanks very much. Any other questions or comments? Not hearing anything. We'll end up with the, is it the operations? Next. Go ahead, Wickland.
Thank you, Richard. So good evening, everyone. The operations report is before you. Happy to answer any questions. Just a quick highlight or perhaps update for one of the items that was mentioned is for the Main Mall Greenway Phase 2 project. So there is a recent update that I'm able to share in here as we are able to incorporate the most recent updates that is coming from UBC recommended native species planning list into the project. So once we are able to implement this planning list, we will be able to create more alignment between the UBC on campus as well as the future UBC stadium neighborhoods. So the intention is to increase additional native species coverage. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly share a PowerPoint presentation that that my team prepared, just to better explain the phase 1 to phase 2 project for everyone in here. Perfect. So in terms of the phase 1 to phase 3 projects, so for the phase 1, we have project we've started, and then the main primary area is right along the journey building. The primary goal is to reduce water pooling as well as to provide a better replacement for the dying grass area. And then what we are working on right now is for the fall 2024 for the phase 2 project. For the phase 2, our goal is to increase native species and also to provide a better local biodiversity. And while we are doing phase 2, as you may be aware, there is an overlapping between phase 1 and phase 2. The main reason of why we are doing an overlap is as we are doing phase 2, increasing the native biodiversity with the native planting list, we are also intended to adding plants in the existing phase 1 area. So just going in a little bit deeper into each phase. So in terms of the phase 1, a very high level look in terms of the species consideration is when we are focusing on using Pachysandra to create a greening area, and then we're also adding other native species on the list in here to create more contrasty and different heights. And one of the main key things that I would want to stress is this is not the finishing product right now that we are seeing at the phase 1 area. The plan is we will add additional planting as we move into phase 2. And then I will quickly go to the phase 2 project, which is right across from the phase 1. Phase 2 is along the reflection side. And in terms of the native species list is quite a bit longer, significantly longer, because we have recently got an updated list from UBC, which UBC campus planning team. And then for the list, we are intended to incorporate into the area. And we have also provided a reference photo of what initially it will looks like it. And the plan is for this phase 2 project is to create better diversity to support native species, and also to use the phase 2 overlapping phase 1 to adding native species planting in the phase 1 area. So that's where we are at for phase 2. And finally, for phase 3, the timeline is to be determined at the moment, but what the team intended to do is to create additional social gathering space in the A area. So there will be additional naturalized benches and gathering space to be created along the area A. And for the area B, our intention is to naturalize it to reduce the lawn area and to make a change in terms of the sense and feel of the neighborhood. But having said that, for the phase 2 and 3 area, we have yet to submit the permit development. So that's something that we will work with campus planning in terms of that. So that's where we are at, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Weigland. Murray.
Thanks, Weigland. It's very hard to see. Where is, on the last slide, where is A?
So
for the phase 3A is on this side, on the west side, right next to Rhodawood, while the B for the phase 3 area is along the FP Innovation side.
So is the proposal to remove all grass?
We are not removing all grass, but we are intended to naturalize it to make it become more biodiversity and naturalized area.
So there, but in other words, will there be any grass after that?
This is we have yet to come up with the final design. So what we are intending to do is, as we are moving along to the phase 2 project, we will do a public engagement piece to have, first of all, set up on-site tent for our team member to engage with local residents to explain what the project will entail and perhaps looks like. And then during that public engagement, we will also take inputs from the residents to see how the project will be unfolded. So there are a few items that we would want to do. Is first, we would want to do public engagement piece to take inputs and also to give our chance to explain what the future or the project may look like. And then also we would all take this project to provide public engagement for the family and the kids to engage into actual planting of the new phase 2 area. So there are a few activities that we are planning along for the phase 2 and phase 3 as we are moving.
Thank you for that. I was going to ask if there had been consultation of residents. Am I right that there has not been to date, but that you're thinking about doing it at some point?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's what we are planning to do, is to provide a more fulsome plan for the residents to review, and then so we can engage and take input and then tweak it as we are moving along.
I see. So I actually think that's critical, and I think it's unfortunate there hasn't been consultation to date. I don't know if you've been down there lately, but the current installation is essentially weed infested, not attractive land that is no longer useful for kids to play on. So it's essentially put in, the pachyderm are growing slowly, I guess, but essentially grass is returning and weeds are growing up. My kids ask me, like, what's happening here? Across the way on the reflection side, I think the water sustainability and water question is a good one, and we all know it rains frequently in the fall and winter and spring, and water pooling does seem to be an objective here. One could imagine not watering in summer, but the grass does provide a useful recreation area, and I would say that is not only true for the existing strip of Main Mall, but if you look down to proposed area A and B here, it is a well-used recreation space where people picnic, people play ball games. I see badminton being played there, and I would have great concern at seeing a recreation space like that converted to native species, or right now Pachyderma, as you note, is not native. Pachysandra. Pachyderma, I guess, is an elephant. Pachysandra, thank you. Anyway, I think it's been so far a net negative for the community, and I would encourage consultation and a real think before removing extensive areas of recreation space.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Definitely noted. And then I guess just to emphasize one point in terms of the transitional period is, in order for us to transfer the area into migrating from a lawn to a naturalized area, it will take some time for it to come into full blossom and more end state. So that may take 1 year, like a year to 2 years, perhaps maybe a little bit longer, depending on how the sun and the drought is treating us. But just want everyone to be, I guess, to remember that it will take time for it to come to the ideal stage. But we do appreciate your input, and definitely we will bring it back to the team, and we will come with information to talk to the residents. And then we are also at the same time ready to pick up inputs and then to plan ahead.
Just a quick follow-up, if I may. I think the end state of this, whether it's in a year or 3 years, is a significant net removal of recreation space for residents in that neighborhood. And I would ask where, so now you have essentially ankle to knee to waist high flora, where is that the people, where are people to go to play? The fields are used almost continually by soccer and rented areas, right? Rented groups. So there's the tiny area by the old barn. It's this is not acceptable.
Thanks, Murray. Bill?
Yeah, I don't, just one comment on that. I haven't heard any comment about this coming to the board for approval, and I think it's very important that this be brought to the board. It's not just a staff decision to make changes like that in the neighborhoods. So I would note that definitely should be coming to the board. I've got a question on a different matter, parking, which in Hampton Place. My understanding was that there would be consultation with the stratas. The strata president, who kind of coordinates the stratas in Hampton Place, said there's been no consultation with him. He raised it with me. So is he correct, Wigland? And what has happened with consultation on the parking in Hampton Place?
Sorry, Bill, are you referring to the implementation of Hampton enforcement? Okay. So for the Hampton enforcement, I will have to look back to my material, but I recall there was a reach out to the Hampton Strata chair before the implementation. But I will have to look back to you, Bill, in terms of providing more information.
Okay, thank you, Wigland. I believe there was going to be consultation on where to put visitor spots, where to put various types of spots, and so on. Possibly the strata president has forgotten that you reached out to him, but he's told me he wasn't approached.
Thanks very much. I'm going to return to this Mall Greenway project here. Just want to give you a bit of feedback. It was probably 3 meetings ago when I made a request to get more information, and I'm thankful that you are providing more information. So that's good. I want to observe that from a detail point of view, this isn't enough information for residents to be able to comment. And the example is I've had questions about phase 1. Is that all the areas that they're going to fill in? Is there going to be grass that's going to remain? Because there is grass there that has remained. And yeah, I was kind of waiting for this to see whether there was more information about that, and I see that it's not here yet. So I think well, I would suggest that if you could provide more information, that it would be much more helpful for resident feedback. Otherwise, they'll make an assumption. Is there going to be any grass? No. Well, okay, then they're going to assume that, and yeah. So I think that's important.
Yes, thank you, Richard. So maybe I just refer to one point is thank you for bringing that up. What the team is working on is we are planning for the native species list coming from UBC in order to incorporate for more detailed planning. And we have just released the planting list with our landscapers. So in terms of the more detailed design of how it's going to look like, for example, whether there's a grass in the area or not, it will more comes into the detailed design as we are working with them. So as we have more information coming back with the working with our landscaping team, and then we will be able to use those information and then also to work and explain to the residents and also incorporate inputs and feedback as we are moving along.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll just add, I think based on the comments we've heard, we'll go back and the intention was to engage the committee on the phase 2 project in more detail and the additions into phase 1. But it's evident, I think we need to do a little more comprehensive reporting, and we'll come back to the board with a little bit more detail on the overarching plan. And that'll lead us into the community consultation. So we'll make sure we follow up.
Thank you. Carol?
Just one comment. I think this is a really great discussion. And as part of that, coming back, I wonder if there's any pulling out of some of the consultation and feedback that the UNA engaged with its community on the development of the landscape management plan, just for helping set the context too. I would be curious to see how the thread is connected from that consultation to this consultation and helping inform it.
I think it's a great point. There definitely are some connections, and there were some envisioned changes to that area that were really, very much based on the landscape management plan. So, and the balance of maintenance activities and such. So we'll have to bring those things together for the board to really get an understanding and help us give the community a better understanding.
Thank you. Faye?
I have some questions. Thank you, Glenn, for providing that information, very helpful. I just wonder, because the landscaping work was transferred from UBC to UNA recently, I just wonder how UBC engaged community previously when UBC was doing the landscaping, because as a resident, I didn't have impression about got the community engagement and the consultation. So is there a kind of process we can follow?
Yeah, so maybe just referring to the UNA area, the transfer was from Properties Trust to the UNA, and the Properties Trust were developing. So they established a landscape standard by which they followed as they were developing it. I don't think there was a consultation. I think that was it was a basically community design plan which they were following. And it was based on an attractiveness and a level of landscaping. So yeah, there was no community consultation before. So.
Well, that's great. So we can make the changes, and I appreciate Wigland's team to make the efforts and willing to do the community consultation. I think that's very helpful and important for the community residents' input. Thank you.
Thanks, Faye. I have one more comment I'd like to quickly make. It's just another observation on UBC campus, the University Boulevard entranceway. It had been converted to a fully, I call it xeriscape, but not. There was no grass at all there. But I've noticed that this past season that it's transformed and become a lot smaller, and there's more grass there. And I'm wondering if there's communication, lessons learned, things that might be applicable to the development of UNA's plan as well, because it looks like they tried a few things, they didn't work, and they've changed back to things that might work. That's right on University Boulevard, right at the entrance of UBC campus. It's yeah, it might be a Moti Road, or is it? Yeah.
UEL's responsible.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah.
But I will say that I think there's a lot of engagement between UBC Landscape and Wegland and the UNA, and just information sharing that the UNA can take or leave as they wish. But yeah, there's a commitment for information sharing for sure.
Thanks. I have another comment regarding the operations report. I just want to note the UBC Emergency Potable Water Well Project. And that sounds like a very promising project to provide emergency water to the community in the event of something catastrophic where we don't have water. So I'm excited to hear about that.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Wigland or comments? Not hearing, we'll move on to the finance portion of the report. Athena.
My report is before you. I have nothing more to highlight because I will be talking quite a bit the rest of the evening. So I'll leave it later. So any question, feel free to ask.
Okay. Thanks very much, Athena. Not hearing anything. Great. Very good. And we'll we'll go to the next item then, which is the neighbors levy assessment, and that is you, Athena.
Oh, it's me. So this report has not gone through the finance committee because the reason is at the time that the committee happened, the information is not available. So the information come available, I think in early July. And yeah, so the report is before you, but there's actually a few things I do wanted to bring it to your attention and highlight. First thing is it's a positive. If you can see, I think at the very last paragraph that I did mention in page 66, the net effect, even though the amount is actually 1.2% higher, but the net effect in total, it will be $106,000 increases. But there's always a but, because I got news from the fire service fee yesterday. And then there's actually substantially higher than what we anticipated. So it's over $300,000 more. Be more precise, is the $318,000 more, $46,000 more. So and also there is in the note 11 of the financial statement. There is a little paragraph mentioned that because we finalized the facility, the UBC facility access fee. So we have a profitable year, as you can see. There is an $85,000 that we deem to pay back to the UBC Athletic. So in total, net will be under 318,000. So I think those information, because it just come available, especially the fire service. So I just wanted to bring it to the board, and I'll be working with UBC to find out a little bit more of why is the big increases. And so far, the high level, what I heard is there is some overtime, and then there is some scheduling issue. But this is not, I don't think it's a negotiable cost, at least at this moment, but I just want to let the board know. Yeah.
Thanks, Athena. Murray?
Just on that last point, Athena, you're referring to the fire charge or the recreation?
The fire one.
Right.
The fire one. The recreation is clear. I think we have the schedule and everything going, so that is clear. But because the condition for that is like we are paying back to UBC when we are having a profitable year, which we had. So we actually will have to pay them back. But the fire service is a new thing because we budgeted for $346,000, much less.
The cynic in me thinks that the fire charge is convenient to assess, and we are powerless to push back. So we can expect this to continue to happen.
Bill.
Athena, you said pay the $85,000. My understanding is that we're not going to pay it, that it's going to come out of the Neighbors Fund.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so the UNA is not paying anything, but it will have an effect on the amount that we receive, so it has the same effect. Well, it'll have a different effect for accounting purposes because it will be 85,000 less in revenue. Yeah. Okay. As opposed to an 85,000 expense. Yeah.
Does that have an effect on the GST calculation as well, or is it
GST?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Any questions for Athena on the this aspect, the neighbors levy assessment? I have one question. It's maybe just an information, trying to understand what the rate for the commercial adjustment is, where you've got in the table on page 66, you've got the actual 2023 was 2.32, and then the projected 4.09 and an actual 3.21. Can you just explain that a little bit? What that is?
For sure. When we projected the neighbors levy, including the GMSL commercial, so that was based on the model that it was done. Like, so it was based on a model updated on an annual basis with the required information. So, and then the GMSL is not being, I would say, you know, like at that moment, the rate for the commercial is actually being projected in a higher rate, which this is not the first year. Last year is pretty much the same thing. So at the end, it comes to a bit lower, which is, I think, good news for, I would say, for the people renting. Yeah, so I think that's basically the variance comes from. But that being said, you know, like the model, we will review it again by I think by a consultant this year. So that's one of the questions that we will address, like to update all the tax rate. And then when the year rate come, and then we'll try our best to update it. This whole thing, I would say, is the best guesstimate with what information we have. There's never guarantee this will be happen. But I will have to say, you know, for the 3 years I've been working with the UNA in the road, we have been very, very close. So the model is working, I would say, somehow. But I think it's just some of the number, it doesn't line up perfectly. Just that.
So I would observe the residential rate is pegged to the city of Vancouver, according to my understanding, and so there's very little variance on it. But is the commercial rate adjusted? Like, there seems to be a larger increase or change there. Could you explain how that happens? Is that through budgeting, or where does it go? You know?
That precisely, because this part is updated by UBC.
Yep.
I need to go back to ask that question. Yeah. Okay. Because I think we collaboratively work with the model just to make sure both sides are on the same page. But this pieces, population, all those are updated by the UBC side. So I am not 100% sure. So sorry, I can't really answer you.
On that point, Athena, I assume that the commercial rate is also based on the Vancouver rate. Do you know whether that's the case? You'd have to be in the leases.
Yes, I think yes.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Okay, great. That was part of my question. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, great. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Athena, for that report. Going to move on to the website server upgrade. And Glenda, if you could bring us through that, please.
Hello again. This report is about an emergency upgrade that we need to perform for our website because of multiple site crashes that's been caused by a number of things, particularly the growth of recreation programming and overlap between program seasons have been requiring the website to carry tool nodes at the same time during that kind of transition weeks between seasons. That also happens to be the time where registration occurs. So the high traffic plus the very heavy load on the server has caused the website to crash. We've tried multiple kind of ways to see if we can mitigate it, including optimizing photos. We've also tried decreasing the number of times where we would have the cache kind of populate, because what happens to the website is it's connected to a database through a custom API, and it's connected to the Explorer recreation management software that kind of populates the information regarding recreation in our website. So one of the tactics that we tried was to make sure that it isn't pulling that information as often as it used to be. So we also tried making the API more efficient, and also talking to Explorer representatives if they can help us out with making their side of things also more efficient. And for now, the answer has been no. So, you know, through kind of like going through the process, we've also enlisted help from operations department, particularly from our IT specialist, and he's been able to kind of give us some recommendations in terms of how we can boost the server and the mechanism that it lives in, so that we are not experiencing these slow load times and crashes anymore, and wouldn't be for the foreseeable future because this boosts our server capacity quite a bit. So we've been working with our web developer partner in finding a suitable new server provider. They've identified somebody that's local. This is a company that is based out of, I think, Burnaby. So they're a smaller company than where we're sitting now, because currently we're sitting in Microsoft Azure, which has a lot of benefits for us. But one of the I guess the downsides of Azure is that because it's managed by Microsoft, they're quite big and they aren't able to provide the kind of customer service that we would need. This smaller company would be able to provide kind of more like almost like a white glove kind of service, where they're constantly monitoring the performance of our website, and they're also being able to kind of mitigate any issues, or at least flag for us any issues that are coming up, that kind of stuff. So it comes with a price tag. We've investigated 3 options. The first one is what we recommend, which is a boosted server, a main server that lives in Vancouver that would live in Burnaby, and then a redundancy server in Toronto that runs parallel to the main server. The idea is that there is this mechanism that allows the redundancy server to pick up in case the main server goes down. So there would be almost zero downtime. In that case, Abdallah recommended that the servers be located in different areas so that there's less chances of it going down at the same time. On top of that, we've got that hosting management service that will be 24/7 proactive support, and around-the-clock monitoring, so just to make sure that things are running smoothly. We've got also weekly patching and security updates as well that they'll be taking care of. That would come to a cost per year of $29,220 per year. The second option that we've identified is it sounds really good. I mean, the tech side of it is that it's a very souped up kind of version of what we would really need. Based on kind of staff's assessment, it's way too much. It's something that we don't currently recommend, because we wouldn't be needing as much this much kind of server power. But it is quite secure because it's recommending 3-node private cloud nodes, meaning there would be like 3 machines basically supporting our server as opposed to 1. And then if one goes down, the second machine will take over. If the second one goes down, the third machine will take over. That sounds like it would be enough, but we are also our IT specialist also recommending that we should have a redundancy server in another location in case Vancouver gets swallowed up by the big one, and then at least we still have the website working. All that to say that it's a little bit too souped up for us. We're not recommending option 2. Option 3 is an even more souped up version of option 2, so we're definitely not recommending option 3. So there are some kind of there are financial obligations. We were not expecting to have to do this server upgrade this year. We were investigating the possibility of potentially doing it in 2025, but it's just come to a point now where I think we have to do it. Otherwise, we risk site crashing again during fall registration, and then again on winter registration. There's a decision here that has to be made, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thanks, Glenda. Go ahead there, Paul, if you
Yeah, I just want to add that, I mean, this is, it's fundamental to, the most significant service level that we provide to the community. And being able to provide those registrations on a consistent basis. And certainly I experienced it in my first few months here, the system crashing and the level of frustration, both internally and externally that had. And then to have the understanding that this has been kind of a repeating pattern. Our provider has tried to tweak and we've tried to massage, but it's evident that the server framework that we were operating under just no longer had the capacity to handle the level of service that we're providing. So the upgrade is required. The additional, I think, important aspect is the redundancy aspect, which wasn't in place before. Now with this new approach to the server provision, we'll have that redundancy, which is from an emergency preparedness perspective, as another positive for this. It's inopportune in terms of additional costs to DNA, but I think I would put it very high on the priority list for something for the board to consider and support.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Murray.
Yeah, thanks, Glenda. For the recommended solution, how long do you think the additional capacity will be sufficient given the anticipated growth of our community and recreation programs? Is this a 1-year patch, a 5-year scalable solution? What are your thoughts?
Hard to say precisely, but it's kind of standard practice to want to review your website every 5 to 6 years. This takes us to that point, to the next review of our website. It is significantly souped up from what we're doing, from what we have right now.
So your estimate would be 5 years?
Yeah, 5 to 6.
Thank you.
So just for clarification on that, that's 5 years for any one of option 1, 2, or 3.
Sorry, say that again, Richard.
Just 5 years if we go with option 1 or 2 or 3. Just, I'm trying to gauge, maybe there's more.
Oh, I see, okay.
Maybe that option 2 or 3 gives more capacity or something.
I see.
Sure.
I think option 2 and 3 would definitely give us more space to grow. The reason why we're not recommending option 2 and 3 is that the redundancy server basically would have to be handled by a separate company. And that means, not a separate company, but it has to be managed by a separate software that has to be manually turned on in case the original 3-node private cloud goes down. And that's something that doesn't guarantee us 0 downtime. That's why we're also not recommending it. I don't know, Abdullah, am I describing that correctly?
Yes, you are in the right approach. Actually, the 3 servers that you have, it's almost identical. The difference between the 3 of those servers is when you're saying capacity, we are talking about RAMs and processors and the server itself hardware. So the server in option number 1 is actually it's more what we have in the other 2 options, which mean the other 2 options is high words because giving you options to have 2 servers inside 1 server, which mean you have the RAMs the same identical for the 3 servers, but they can segregate the servers for 3 nodes, which mean I can add 3 different, for example, websites or 3 different applications inside that server, and I can cluster that. So I can tell the server, take 10 giga from here for that website, 10 giga from here to that website. But it's just a bigger from the perspective of hosting more instead of just keeping 1. But in terms of the 3 options, long-term or short-term, they will give the same options or same term unless we have let's say, unless we have a huge, which is actually this option number 1 will still capable to do if you have a huge viewing on our website, because the server capacity you have now, it's actually very big. So I consider, or in my verification, I consider something to stay for long term, not short term anymore.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, two questions. One, I see that the hosting management is $975 a month with option one and $525 a month with the other two options. Is there a reason for that difference?
Yes, I believe for the first option, they'll be managing both the main server and the redundancy server. And for the second option, they'll only be managing the custom 3-node private cloud.
Okay. And my second question, well, I guess it's sort of a question or comment. If after 3 years we discovered that if we go with option one and we discover it's not enough, it looks like we've saved ourselves, just $50,000, and whereas we might have a $7,000 or $8,000 setup cost. So it seems to be a no-brainer that if option one is going to be good for a few years anyway, we're way ahead by going with option one financially. Is that correct?
Absolutely right.
Dana, did you want to?
Sorry, I want to make a financial comment. I think so the director, so the board will know. So first of all, for page 71, I think Glenda summarized it for those three options and then what those costs. So those costs actually will be a recurring cost. So when the board say yes, means that every year we have to have that. And specifically for the one-time setup fee, because those are labor costs, means that, like they need the labor time to transfer data from one place to another. So those are not considered capital costs. So those will all be operational costs that absorbed by the project, like within whichever year that we implement it. So which will be this year. So just for your information. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Athena. Okay, go ahead, Faye.
Yeah, thank you, Asina, for the clarification. I just wonder what's the total amount of the capital cost for the website and the maintenance for now? Is that $5,000 to $375 per year, or is that more?
There won't be capital costs there won't be any capital costs as I mentioned. So first of all, the current cost per year, that is our current operating cost, but it will be replaced. If it's option one, we're talking about by the new cost, that $23,845 per year. So there is a difference, and then so there will be the difference of that cost will be absorbed, will be actually for this fiscal year if we say yes to the project.
Because I remember that I saw the number is more than $10,000 per year for asset cost in the audit report. So is that the website, or is that related to this server, or all of this additional cost is besides that part?
Yes. This never exists. The 22 something that we mentioned is a new thing.
Okay.
Top. Yes.
So nothing of this number connected to the asset cost, correct? No. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other discussion? Not hearing any discussion, maybe I understand that there was a modification. So Bill, would you like to propose a motion for us?
Yeah, I move that the board approve option one in the web server upgrade report of July 9, 2024.
Seconded, Murray. Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, thanks very much. Very hopeful that that will take place and we won't have any crashes.
2 weeks.
That's great. Okay. Good. All right, we're in our next item was the Finance and Audit Committee update. And Athena, you're back.
Sorry, me talking again. So the report is before you. Technically speaking, we need to have, I'm just preparing for our AGM because we can only appoint the auditor at that time. So it will be, this is a motion that I would like to recommend that to appoint the auditor. Again next year for reviewing our book.
Great. Bill, do you want to make a motion right away?
I
I move that the board seek approval at the 2024 annual general meeting for the appointment of Johnson Archer LLP as auditor until the close of the subsequent annual general meeting.
Seconder? Okay, thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. That's great. Okay. Okay, the UNA Reserves Investment Strategy.
Okay, me again. The report is before you. We have, so far, we have no more investment, GIC, in our portfolio because, as I said, I'm waiting for this meeting so we can make some sound decision of where to put our money. So there is different pots of money, as I mentioned in the report. There is our reserve, and also there is excess cash. So that being said, all I wanted to say is like, even though I delivered some bad news regarding in the previous report regarding the total amount that we will receive will be less. I don't think the motion that I have here will affect because for a portion of the money, a big portion that we're going to put that into the cash for GIC. So we still have time to review and look at things. So I just want to assure you that part is not going to be changing. And then the second piece is like, I wanted to bring it forward. It's like the rate that I stated here, because the rate is actually day sensitive. So the rate here is just for reference only. And I will just say that, like if you approve it and then tomorrow I go to buy, and then the rate might be slightly different. So I just wanted the board to know about that. Yeah. So yeah, I think other than that, what I wanted to say is already included in the report. So I'm open for any question.
Discussion? No.
Yeah, it's in the report, but a reason for putting so much into a one-year term cashable GIC is that we're looking at using the Municipal Finance Association's investment vehicle, one of their investment vehicles, which might give a higher rate. So but more time is needed to fully explore that. And so this keeps the money earning some interest, not as much as it otherwise could earn, but it gives us the flexibility to flip over to the MFA, one of the MFA funds if it's decided to do that. RBC doesn't give the best rates. I can get a better rate for just using the high interest savings account with the Bank of Montreal, which is, the money can be withdrawn anytime. I think when Athena looked at it, the RBC rate was about 3.3%. So I can get 4.5. So not happy with RBC's rates, but it's who we're using. So so these would be RBC GICs that are being proposed.
Thanks for those comments. I guess, does anyone have any discussion? Oh, sorry, Carol.
Just a question. Maybe Bill, you have more information on this, but my understanding was that the MFA had been previously explored, but the UNA wasn't eligible because they're not a local government. Do you know more about that?
Paul's been exploring, so I'll let him.
So the MFA is the financial authority for local governments in British Columbia. It deals with two things. One is the borrowing side for local governments, and then they have an investment side. In previous investigations, the MFA did report back to the UNA that they weren't prepared or weren't able to take on the UNA as a client, as it were. I re-engaged a few weeks or months ago to talk to the MFA about the opportunity, really to focus on the investment side. Clearly, we're not interested nor eligible on the borrowing side, and we don't borrow in the way that the municipality does. But since the previous information, they have been able to get the approval from those that regulate them to allow other groups that are similar in nature to local governments to participate on the investment side. So that's where we brought it forward to the Finance Committee for some discussions. We'll continue that investigation and see whether it's of benefit.
Thank you. One question. It sounds like the benefits of going to the MFA would be better than what a chartered bank could offer. But I'm wondering, given the current climate, that interest rates might be declining, is there a risk assessment in terms of what our return is for 1 year versus if we invested for 2 or 3 years, for, you know, in light of the MFA as well?
Yeah, I think that's really part of the further analysis that we need to do. Right now, we're really looking at parking some short-term investments. Whether we do any longer-term investments with MFA vehicles, we'll be coming back to the board on that.
Okay.
And it's a reason that the recommendation includes a 2-year term GIC so that we do lock in some of the current interest rate.
Great. Murray?
Yeah, I don't know if this is for Athena or for Bill, but in regards to the apparently uncompetitive rates of RBC, is that have you attempted to negotiate and point out the non-competitive nature of their rates and ask them to whether they were willing to match Bank of Montreal?
I think I can. I have gone through that route, but I think sometimes they come back yes, sometimes they come back no. I still haven't figured out the pattern yet. So I don't know if because of the amount or because of the terms. I don't know. I haven't really figured out that part yet. But I think definitely will be one of the things that I'm going to negotiate with them about for sure. Yeah, because I will also tell them that now you have a competitor. So I'm going to tell them my plan, and then if you can offer, maybe we can look harder. Like if you're not, then because one of the thing about MFA is like because they're funds, right? So and compared to GIC, GIC is guaranteed. So it means that you invest, you guarantee you get it back. Fund is like you get it back most likely, but you don't know. The fund is just fund investment, just like all the other fund purchases. So yeah, then it will be another decision for the board, I think, when it's ready. So when we have more information. So far, we have actually quite a lot of discussion in the Finance and Audit Committee. We talk about different amount, different option, different things, and then, but we thought, like it's good to explore, and then, but we are not ready to make any commitment. That's why we, as what Bill just mentioned, we put some into the cash flow GIC, so we have the flexibility, but at the same time, we can buy some time to look at, do we really have more options? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't mean to, I guess, question the diligence that's been done by the Finance Committee, but just curious, even for, it would be straightforward to buy the 1-year GIC with Bank of Montreal if it's better than with RBC. Are we beholden to go with RBC? Even setting aside the MFA option that's being investigated, why not go for a better rate with an alternate bank?
There's a lot of option in terms of investment. I think there's a lot of possibility, but I think the idea behind this is like we're just trying to find if UNA, like right now, because we're not locked into anything, we are really free to go any direction, right? So if I feel strongly that board just want to go GIC, we can just go with the GIC because the MFA option just come out, and then that's why, and then our money is free to go any direction. That's why I think the option is explore. Yeah.
I think you're missing my question. The motion is for 1.6 million in a 1-year term cashable GIC, and I heard from Bill that RBC's rates for that are not competitive. Are we looking at Bank of Montreal for that 1 year as part of the motion?
Could be.
I should maybe answer. The rate I was speaking about was the high interest savings account rate. I forget what I think the BMO was a bit higher for 1 year, maybe 2 years. I don't remember now. To go with another bank, I guess we would need to set up a whole banking arrangement because we haven't got an account, we haven't got an investment type account that lets us just invest, pick up GICs from other banks easily. which you can do if you have an investment account. So we would have to set up a whole banking arrangement with the Bank of Montreal. And I think given the difference in rates at this point, it wouldn't be worth it, especially given the relatively short term until we actually settle on what to do with the 1.6 million. Just to clarify one thing Athena said, I don't think the intention is to go with a pooled fund where people could fluctuate. At least, that's certainly not the intention I had in mind. The MFA has a high interest savings account type fund. So the principal is, well, essentially guaranteed. It's not really guaranteed, but it's so unlikely to be an issue. But you're not going to have fluctuations in value, whereas if you go into a bond fund or anything like that, you are, and we're not proposing, at least so far, that hasn't been proposed. So, but I still think we'll want to lock in more on a longer term basis, and then keep a chunk. If the MFA provides a significantly high enough interest rate beyond what RBC does, then it would be convenient to put what we want to keep more liquid there.
Faye.
I agree. We should put some money just transfer to MFA or other separate investment organization to get a higher rate. And I wonder, because our plan here is $1.6 million, it's just a save in RBC for the 1 year cashable GIC. I just wonder, is it possible we also move this amount of money to MFA or other investment organization, and when we need the money, we can transfer from that organization back to RBC. That will bring more investment return, I think.
Yeah, I guess I can answer that. That's actually what we're exploring, but we needed more information. We're not ready to go with MFA yet, so we needed more information before we could bring that to the board.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Peter.
Okay, thank you. Are we ready to propose a motion?
I thought Holly had a
sorry.
hand up for quite a while.
No, Murray covered it.
Okay.
Yeah. I was going to ask them.
Aisha, did you have a question? No. Okay, sorry. All right. Yep. Bill, please.
Okay, I move that the board direct staff to make the following investments: $500,000 in a 2-year term GIC and $1.6 million in a 1-year term cashable GIC.
Seconder. Faith? Discussion? All in favor? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. That's great. Okay, the next item is the Governance and Human Resources Committee update. Chris.
Thank you. So the report is contained in your package, and it should contain the details regarding the 2024 AGM. Of course, a brief summary. The board is responsible for setting the date, time, and place of the AGM. Staff are proposing that the meeting be held on September 25th at 7 p.m. in the Westbrook Community Center. The documents contained, the documents as part of this report contain the notice of the meeting itself, the bylaw amendments that the board had previously passed, as well as a proxy holder form. A copy of the ballot form for the bylaw amendments is also contained. A couple editorial changes were sent to us prior to this meeting, which we've noted. They're fairly minor, so happy to include that in unless folks want to take a more detailed look at those. But with that, happy to answer any questions. Do not want to take too much more.
Thanks, Chris. We got general discussion or questions? Okay, I have one. I'd like to propose that we defer the meeting to October 2nd, 2024, which is 1 week later. And just going to confess, I have a personal agenda in this. I'm unable to make the September 25th meeting, and would prefer to be able to meet, be there in person. And so I'm just asking the board to consider that and check your schedules and see if that matches up. I know that the implication of that is that we will be a couple days beyond the requirement for 6 months to have the AGM within 6 months. However, the UNA has done this before, and as long as we're not doing it on a regular basis, I think we're well within our bounds to have a meeting on that time. So just propose that. Is there any feedback? Anyone? Are you all able to make the October 2nd meeting? Yep. Okay. Yes. Okay. Great. Okay. Well, there's been no other discussion, so I'll move that the board confirm that the UNA will hold the 2024 annual general meeting on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, commencing at 7 p.m. at the Westbrook Community Center. Do you have a seconder? Murray? Discussion? All in favor? The motion passes unanimously. Very good. Thank you very much. And a secondary motion that the board approve the 2024 notice of AGM package and special resolution ballot form. I guess it will have to be modified as modified to match the new date. A seconder? Faye? Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. That's great. Thank you. Okay, the Board of Directors election planning report. Chris.
Last one from me. Again, the report is before you. It should contain the details related to the upcoming election. We've previously presented on most of these details, so I won't belabor them. The one highlight I want to mention is our own goal to ensure that this transition to a new mode of voting goes smoothly. We're paying particular attention towards making the new voting process understandable for folks by way, for example, of answering some frequently asked questions beforehand and providing that information to folks, as well as having an election support email in case there are any technical difficulties as they relate to voting. We're also looking to address some previous election hiccups and other feedback that we've received in the past, such as reducing the lag time between someone signing up to be a new UNA member and then eventually having access to the voting materials or voting platform as well. Last thing, we have one small editorial change regarding the ballot form, which was sent to us prior to this meeting. We've noted it down, and unless folks want to take a more detailed look at it, it's just a removal of one bullet. But with that, happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Chris. Bill.
Yeah, why is the time between the deadline for nominations and the sending of information so long? It has to be at least 15 days, but it's a month. Why so much time?
Thanks, Bill. We've had this sort of a break period between the end of the nominations and when all of the information and voting instructions got to the members as well as voting period begins, primarily to accommodate our own logistics internally. Once nominations close, we need to take all of the information there and prepare the physical election package that would be mailed out, since we're still doing that, as well as we would need to take that information, upload it to the online platform. So while the bylaws provide a 15-day minimum, we've done it in the past, and the recommendation here is that we do it again to provide a month-long in order to accommodate our own logistics and preparation.
Is it possible to shorten it at all? It just seems like such a long time between people putting in nominations and then nothing happens for a whole month. If it can't be shortened, I guess we go with it. But previously, when the bylaws were drafted or the amendments were put in, spelling out the details, it was felt that 15 days would be enough. So is it because we're going to online voting that we now can no longer do it in 15 days?
It's a combination of continuing to use the physical election package mail out and this transition. The preference, I'd say that we'd prefer if we maintain that month long. because having seen some of the previous working timelines for preparing the election package, having that printed out, it being ready to be mailed out, it does take, I'd say, at the very least 3 weeks. And I'd say rounding that up to a month makes this clean and provides us with a lot more leeway with, of course, the physical package being prepared, but also the transition to an online platform. One thing I'll add is that it's not a quiet, we don't expect it to be a quiet period, and I don't believe it's been in the past as well. Of course, information will be uploaded online as well as we can prepare, and we'll conduct some of our own promotional materials there too. Really, this is more so for us to prepare on the back end for the election package and the voting platform.
Murray? This is sort of just asking for a reminder. So we are doing both an online election and a physical election in both. Is that right? Full optionality for people to choose? No.
It's a full mailing package, which has all the physical material provided, and then it's an online voting. So the mailing package is the part that requires, it's very similar to what our previous process was, because we're mailing out all the same material.
That sounds, rings a bell now, and I was just confused by some of the explanation there. So one would hope that this is, I guess, this move to the electronic software saves time, but it seems like it's not. It's adding time and complexity here.
It's more so for the transition period, and we understand the eagerness to want to get things done in a tighter timeline, and we're really doing the physical mailing package here because it's a transition. We want to make sure folks who might not normally see a lot of our electronic materials are aware that we're shifting towards primarily an electronic medium. So after this election, we're planning to assess how things went. If we feel like we can do without the physical election package for the 3 years after that, we'll hopefully go fully electronic, and the hope is that will shorten that timeline that we need to prepare.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. I have two questions regarding this process. The first is if people cannot receive the physical package, can they still vote online?
Yes. So the election package is mainly for information. You'll receive your credentials to go online and vote electronically. The package really there is for information, and if you're somebody who might not normally be paying attention to, again, the information we're sharing online, you can contact us either online or go to the front desk in person. Let us know that you want to receive all the information. We'll take in your email and ensure that you get all the credentials and can go online and vote.
Thank you. And second question is, do we have the plan for the community education? Because first, it's a new system, it's a new process. Residents might need some time to digest. So I agree, we have a longer period so that people have some time to learn about this new process. And also for the newcomers, the immigrants, the first time they vote, many of people, they might have this experience and they might need more education about how to vote. So do we have any plan or any town hall meeting or the information session or the communications through newsletters? But some people, I would say, they even didn't register for the newsletter. So do we have any brochures or the posters in the community center so that people can easily learn about that?
Thanks, Faye. Chris, do you want to get that? I think, yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Keeping it brief, yes, we do have plans. We have multiple sort of touch points between the UNA and members. Apart from the physical package, of course, there's the official notice of election that goes out. So our aim is to make sure that there's information there regarding this transition to online voting. We'll make sure that there's information on our website related to the transition and some FAQs there. things in our newsletter, as well as the membership list mail out that goes out to folks who even aren't signed up for our newsletter. They'll receive that email regardless from us. So we plan to have information going there. Of course, there are other ideas. We'll take them under advisement and see what we can put together as well. Because again, the goal is to make sure that this is a relatively smooth transition into online voting.
Sounds good. Thank you, Chris. I want to flag that many residents newly moved to this community, they might not have time to register the members. They didn't realize if they register members, they can vote. So there is a flag. There will be more new members who want to register because of the voting. The UNA should get ready for this kind of unexpected new members joining.
We fully expect that there will be new members wanting to get registered to prepare to vote, and we'll be prepared for that.
Thank you.
Bill.
Yeah, I'll have, when we get to recommendations 3 and 4, I'll have something for those, but so I'll save that. On the first recommendation, C, I just want to suggest wording that will be parallel to what precedes it, so that I don't have to make an amendment. And so I would hope that the resolution will read, the voting period is to commence on November 4, blah, 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 and end on, rather than what's there now, and that it fits with the rest.
Voting period is to commence on, yeah, that's great.
And end on.
And end on, yeah. Great, thank you. So,
Yeah, going back to like the original line of questioning regarding like transition materials and promoting that, the AMS would be more than willing to, if you guys like have a how-to guide, we can promote that off to students because we're really trying to engage the student vote this year with the UNA election. So we'd be more than happy to promote it on our end as well.
That's great. Thank you very much. One other comment, which follows what Faye had talked about, a little bit of communications. One thing which isn't in this package, which I think we have time to deal with, and I made a request to Paul just at our last meeting, was to think about some of the things like an all candidates forum or scheduling to increase the profile of the election amongst people, which they're non-essential elements to this package, but I think they're essential to the success of.
We are doing planning for an all candidates forum as part of the process, and I would also add, as part of the communications, is certainly using our social media streams to make sure that students are well aware of the process for them to become members, and that there's an election going on, and all those aspects.
Good. Okay. Thank you. I guess we'll proceed one by one through these motions, if that's. It sounds like Bill wanted to talk about item 3. So I'll move that the board approve the following dates for the UNA 2024 UNA Board of Directors election. The deadline by which nominations are to be received is October 4th. The deadline by which the UNA must send the information of each candidate, the instructions for online voting, and the unique voting passwords to the members is November 4th. The voting period is to commence on November 4th. 2024 and end on November 26, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. Seconder. Murray. Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. That's great. Okay. I'll move that the board approve the 2024 UNA Board of Directors election ballot from the voting guide as circulated. Sorry?
As amended, just because.
Oh, as amended, yeah, sorry. Seconder? Bernie? Discussion? All in favor? The motion passes. That's great, thank you. I'll move that the board approve the following election signage rules. A, in the private realm, candidates may make arrangements themselves with owners or landlords. B, in areas managed by the UNA, the UNA reserves the right to remove any election signs that may obstruct traffic, hinder pedestrian visibility, or generally create a hazard to the public. C, all election signs in areas managed by the UNA must be removed no later than 24 hours after the end of the election. A seconder? Faye? Discussion? Bill?
Yeah, I believe it's in the report, but I just want to confirm that UBC has actually given UNA authority for the signage rules.
In our conversations with UNA staff, we've clarified that we have no objections to the UNA putting this signage forward. I also know that there's ongoing conversations in the neighbors agreement around delegating authority, and we're in that process right now. So we don't have the signed neighbors agreement, as you're well aware. But in this interim period, we have no objections to the UNA putting this election signage guidelines in place.
Okay, that's not quite what I'd like to hear. It's not a delegation of authority, but let it go.
Bernie?
What is the private realm?
I think my understanding is anything that is not managed by UNA, but is managed by private. So it would be within a strata, for example, a commercial entity, maybe I guess VSB might be an area that's private.
It would be anything within like a leased sort of property of, say, a strata within the property lines of the strata that's managed by the strata or commercial area.
Yeah, I think this is, that's sort of clear, but the language private realm, when I think about, there's really no individual private property at UBC, and so the strata, there's limited common property. We can think about that as private, but it's not obvious to me that it is. So I might think about this as areas not managed by UNA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd question the need for A. You don't need UNA permission to do that sort of thing. So why is A even there? All you need is what the UNA is going to do, and signs having to be removed from the public realm. So I'd propose an amendment. I move an amendment that the motion be revised by deleting part A.
Seconder, Murray. Discussion on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? Motion passes. So the amended motion now no longer has item A in it. Chris, you okay with that? Good. Okay, other discussion? All in favor? None opposed, the motion passes. That's great. Okay, the item 4 is that I'll move that the board authorize staff to issue communication to all members of the UNA, inviting members to, by notice to the society, elect not to have their email contact information shared with candidates, and that the UNA shall not share candidates such email contact information of a member who objects. It's a long sentence. Seconder? No seconder. Oh, Murray. Okay, thank you. So discussion? Go ahead.
It's grammatically incorrect, so we need to fix this.
Okay.
That the UNA shall not share candidates such email, or what that means actually.
Yep. Thank you. Bill, have you got a proposed alternative motion correction?
Well, that would just be not share with candidates.
Yeah. Not share with candidates. Yeah, so adding them. the word with.
Yeah, but are we on discussion?
Discussion, yeah.
Yeah, this motion is surprising. It's contrary to what the Societies Act requires. I'm surprised that staff would make a recommendation like this. They should be recommending that UNA comply with the law, not that the UNA ignore the law. The Strata Property Act, the Societies Act, sorry, is clear that information in the register has to be made available. And it doesn't say you can choose to make some available, some not. Either the email addresses are part of the register, which I think we concluded they are, the register of members, in which case they all have to be made available. If they aren't part of the register of members, then none of them should be made available. But there's no option to make some available and some not and let people say. So in making this motion, if this motion is adopted, the board is saying, well, we don't care what the law says. We're going to do something different anyway. And I think that's inappropriate for the board. I think it's inappropriate as a recommendation from staff. So I will certainly vote against this.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I'd like to ask, just for clarification, UNA, I hope, has a Personal Information Protection Act delegate who understands the implications of private information and how it applies.
Indeed. In this particular case, this was an action that was taken for the previous election by the previous board. Yeah. There was a legal opinion that was received at that time that indicated that the board could make this decision. We have brought it forward again following that same practice that was in the last election. Again, it's up to the board as to whether you're prepared to do that or not, but it was based on opinion that was received by the UNA.
So respond to that. That so-called opinion was just saying, well, you might be able to do this. It was not a firm legal opinion. It was a lawyer trying to tell the UNA what the UNA wanted to hear. It was not a legal opinion saying you can do this. And it's absolutely clear in the law, I would submit, that there is no basis for allowing members to say, yes, you can give out this information or not. You could also say, well, members could say they don't want their names given out. Members don't want this, their addresses given out. There's no basis in the Societies Act for that. And that so-called opinion is not really an opinion we should be relying on.
Do we have clarity on the first issue which Bill highlighted, that as to whether the email addresses are part of the register or not?
They are certainly, and they are an important part of the electronic voting system.
I think I understood the point was that they are part of the society's the register of members of the society, separate from the electronic voting.
Yeah, absolutely. They're part of the material that we collect from members that identify them, and as part of that register.
Okay. So, Faye, go ahead.
Yeah, so I remember last election, there was some confusion because some residents, they registered as the UNA members, but they didn't tick. They would like to participate in the voting. So they thought they should receive the voting package, but they didn't because they didn't tick that. So I just wonder if there's any plan for the improvement.
All members receive the information and whether they decide to vote or not, they don't have to tick a special box or make any indication. If you're a member, you get the information and you're eligible to vote.
Okay, that sounds great, because last time it was different. Last time people had to tick voting. So yeah, that's great. And
maybe I could clarify that, Faye. Sorry, I think the clarification from last time was that people could register for programs without being a member. And when they registered for programs, they could tick the box saying, I want to be a member as well, and go through that. But they didn't realize that when they were registering for a program that they were not registering to be a member necessarily unless they ticked the box. And I think that clarification, I think that issue remains, if I'm incorrect. Maybe could
there will be a continuing potential conflict for people's understanding, whether they're registering for programs and believe themselves therefore eligible to vote without becoming a member. It is part of the structure of the UNA, and unless we make some pretty dramatic changes, it will always be in place. So we will make all best efforts in the communication process to ensure that people understand that the two are separate streams. The participation in programs as a registrant is different than signing up and becoming a member of the association.
Perfect. Thank you both, Richard and Paul, for the clarification. It's very helpful. And talking back to the privacy controversial topic. So there was a big question last time. I remember some residents, they wasn't aware they was able to tear UNA. They didn't want their email addresses to be released. And it was a big surprise when they received the candidates promotion email, the campaign emails. So there was a big question that personally I received several questions or blames about how we operated like this. I just wonder, as we discussed just now, I just wonder, is there any possibility for UNA to collect the candidates' campaign message and distribute to the members on behalf of the candidates, just in case we have similar situation this year?
Chris? We can. I think, of course, that raises its own set of issues. I think to the matter at hand, it's a little bit separate in the sense that even if we were collecting information from candidates, their marketing materials, campaign materials to send to members on their behalf, they're still able to access the membership register per the Societies Act. Even if we were circulating their materials for them, they can still access the register. Here, it's to that question of privacy and folks receiving emails from candidates, of whether members who would prefer to not receive campaign materials or emails directly from candidates can, by this resolution, decide to opt out. And so we remove them from that list that we'd be sharing with candidates.
Yeah, I understand. I understand there is opt-out process, but many residents they didn't pay attention about the communications, so that caused the confusion, the surprise, and the blame, the anger. And as the candidates, I had to forward all their requests and questions to UNA staff, and UNA staff deal with them. And some candidates they might not forward those questions to the UNA staff, and the other candidates reach out to the same group of people, might just increased anger. So I just wonder if we can set up a kind of process. For example, we ask all the candidates if they receive any of this type of complaint, they will have to, they are required to forward that to UNA immediately, so that we can avoid the future just blame or complaint. Thank you.
Thank you, Faye. Just for clarification, I believe the issue on this particular motion is that, according to Bill, the law is that we cannot limit access to the contact information by the Society Act. Is that correct? No, yeah, essentially. So
it's for the purpose of, excuse me, for the purpose of influencing voting.
For the purpose of influencing voting.
Which it is here.
Okay, so I believe you're speaking against this motion, and I would, for the discussion purposes, if we were to defeat this motion, if there would be an alternative approach. In other words, letting people know what the law is and preparing them for the possibility of getting information that they don't want to get.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. To tell them the UNA has no choice in the matter. It's required by law to make the information available. Now, you can make it less convenient. You don't have to provide it in electronic form, but you know, that kind of people could copy it down or get a copy anyway. So I'm just thinking, where would that information be? I guess it could go out with the package that goes. Well, it could go with the package we approved with the recommendation 1, the voting guide and so on, or possibly. The notice to people that
regarding the law of
yeah. In fact, it's any member is entitled. It's not just candidates. Any member is entitled if they want it for the purpose of influencing voting. So if you've got somebody in the community who really wants to try and influence the voting, they have a legal right to the same information, to inspect the register, get the information.
So maybe I'd like to ask Paul if there's any.
I don't think we need additional direction. I think the board has to deal with the motion that's there.
Right.
What we do following that up, I think we'll take that certainly under advisement and make sure that we're communicating as clearly as possible that, the framework for elections is decided, for the UNA. It's not largely something that the UNA adjusts. Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to call the motion.
Sure. Just making note that the motion has an amendment inherent in it, in the second line, and that the UNA shall not share with candidates such email contact information of a member who objects. So the word "with" is included in there, in that motion. Okay. All in favor? Opposed? The motion fails to be passed. There we go. Okay. That's the feedback. Good. Okay. We are now, we've got one more item, I believe, on the open meeting, and I'm going to just ask Bill if you could provide that. That's item 7, Neighbors Agreement Committee update.
Yep, it'll be fairly quick. So as I reported at the last meeting, the Neighbors Agreement Committee met with UBC on June the 5th to discuss the documents, the body of the Neighbors Agreement and a number of the schedules. The next version, the amendments were made following that meeting, revisions were made, and the documents were sent to UBC on June 21st. Then Schedule E, which is the one that deals with reserves in the Neighbors Fund, was sent to UBC on July 2nd. There's a meeting scheduled for July 22, so I guess that's
next week.
Next week, week today, I guess that is. Oh no, what's the date?
Week yesterday.
Out of touch. Yeah. So next Monday, at which we'll be discussing all the documents. As I've mentioned before, really we're waiting for some stuff to come from UBC at this point. We're going to get feedback on what they've been sent, and then the pieces that we've been waiting for them to provide. And hopefully that'll all be provided at or before the meeting. And then we'll be getting close to final. As I mentioned, UBC wants to take this to the property committee on September 11th or 12th. And I guess it needs, Carol can tell us how many weeks lead time. If we're going to meet that deadline, the UNA board would have to approve the agreement first, because I don't think it would go to the property committee without that, which means we would need a special meeting sometime in August. Okay. So that's where it stands. We'll see if we meet that deadline or not.
Sounds great. Maybe just feedback. I certainly would be excited and hopeful that if we needed a special meeting in August, that we would do that. So that'd be great. Yep. Any other discussion or comments? No. Okay. Thank you very much, Director Holmes. We're about to adjourn the meeting, but I wanted to, I guess there is a meal there. Is there some food? Yeah. Okay. So we have, I'm going to adjourn the meeting for 25 minutes until 8:15. And the reason why we're going to have a bit of an extended break is that we had invited Michael White to come talk to the board, and he can't arrive until 8:30 or later. So I'm just anticipating that. Did he? Oh, he might be early. Okay, well, we can, I think 25 minutes is a good break anyway. So unless you guys want to get going with this.
Are you saying, he'll be here at 8?
I don't know when he'll be here. He's managing different obligations, but I wonder if we could, if he does arrive early, then maybe we could cut the break short, because I think he has to leave again, but I don't know. I'm not quite certain of the ins and outs of his schedule.
Okay, well, I'm going to just propose that we will resume at 8:15 with the closed session. And for that, I'm now going to move that the board adjourn into a closed session to discuss matters that are or related to discussions and dealings with other entities or individuals where disclosure of the information being discussed could be harmful to the UNA's interests, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and the approval of minutes for a closed session or restricted closed session of a board meeting. Seconded by? Okay. All in favor? Motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you. Good.